Hi there, I'm here in the new NEC Media Center here in Birmingham. It just opened a few weeks ago, and I'd encourage you to come by and visit, to contact us and come here and see the facilities that we have that is available for the church to use. It's an excellent place where various forms of media can be made and produced and distributed. If there's something this pandemic should have taught us, and I hope it has, is the importance today of having a digital presence in all aspects of our life, and in particular for the church. Not just us as individuals, but the church corporately or collectively as a conference and as individual local churches. It's impossible to talk about evangelism as a church organization moving forward without stressing the importance of digital evangelism and us asking the questions of what kind of presence do we have on the web, whether it's the internet, through our website, or whether it's social media on the various platforms that are out there. I heard a quotation just the other day that said, the new front door to your church is your website. I'd rephrase that a little bit and say, the new front door to your church is your web presence. What kind of website do you have as a church? What kind of social media presence do you have? Because in this day and age, when you invite someone to come to your church, as we do in evangelism, when you invite someone to come to a particular gathering, the first thing they do if they're not familiar with it, aside from asking you about it, is go online, go to Google and search. We need to have an up-to-date, fresh presence out there on the web as local congregations, that when we're out there in our communities and we're letting people know where we come from, they can see when they go online that we have an active presence online that can engage with them and let them know who we are. The last video on this channel where Pastor Joe Philpott stressed the importance of digital evangelism and also shared how that the conference is able to provide resources and providing websites and things like that for the churches across our conference. In this day and age, with the videos that are available on YouTube, with the templates and all the things you can find out there, there is literally no excuse for us not to have a digital presence. It is very important today. I want to urge and encourage you to get that. But no war was ever won just using the Air Force. The importance of satellite TV, the importance of having a web presence is very, it's much more than it used to be. But in our churches and in our outreach and the work that we do, we need to have one-to-one, we need to have real interaction with people as well. And it's the two combinations of these different types of ministries blending together that gives us a holistic outlook as we go out into the communities. The theme of the General Conference for this quinquennium and the theme for the NEC is also, I will go. And as we go out there, as we go out evangelizing, we need to go out there to seek and to save that which was lost. Sometimes we want to look for a silver bullet. You may have heard of that phrase, a silver bullet. And it's the idea that there's a particular method or a particular strategy that will solve the problems that we have. And sometimes in evangelism, we're looking for a silver bullet, a particular methodology or a particular emphasis that if only we do that, then we'll finish the work. If only we did, more evangelistic campaigns, if only we had a better website, if only we had an Instagram page, or if only we had a small group, or if only we had a nice new sign, or whatever it might be. But the reality is that there is no silver bullet. There is no missing link per se of just one thing. We need to have a holistic approach as a church where we're engaged in our community, where we have a holistic evangelistic cycle, where we're reaching out to the community, where we're doing friendship evangelism, where we're doing various programs that win us contacts, where we do have different types of reaping series, whether it's Bible studies or one-on-one, whether it's evangelistic series, and there's a holistic cycle that draws people in and leads them to a point of making a decision. I want to encourage you to get involved in soul winning in your church. God needs people who are faithful. Whether the church has given you a position in a particular department or whether they haven't, God is looking for faithful people who will use the talents he has given them and will use it to share the message. You know, some of the greatest reformers in the Reformation, they were not men who sought to be famous. They just sought to be faithful in their station of duty. And by being faithful in their station of duty, it led them from one thing to another. Martin Luther never planned to be the father of the church that he was, so to speak, or the leader of the Reformation. He just wanted to have an honest conversation with the theologians in his area. But that faithfulness to that cause just led him naturally where the Lord took him. Be faithful where you are, whether it's in your family environment, whether it's in your workplace, whether it's in your community, in your local church. Be faithful where you are, and as God opens doors, keep walking through them and share the message that we have with those around us. You can never be too old, you can never be too young, you can never be too anything to be disqualified for service in the church of God. God is looking for people that will work for him. There's a story in our Adventist history with Abram LaRue. He wanted to be a missionary. He was 65 or so years old. He lived in California, and he asked the General Conference to send him as a missionary, but they told him, "You're too old. You can't go." One thing led to another, and he found himself on a boat in Hawaii, and he was given the call that you can go as a ship missionary to the South Pacific. So he really wanted to go to China, though, and one thing led to another. He actually ended up finding himself on a boat, and he ended up in Hong Kong, which was, an island in the Pacific, and he found himself there in Hong Kong, and he worked for 13 years. He couldn't really speak the language. He was considered too old by the church, but he worked there for 13 years before an official missionary went there. And after 13 years, when the first official missionary came, he was there and he worked, and 6 baptisms took place just 6 months before he died. Considered too old by other people, but God still had a place for him because he had a burden to share the message in a particular country, in a particular part of the world. We live here in England. God has placed each one of us here for a particular purpose, that we may share the message he has given to us, and that changes may happen here in England. May we take up the task around us. May we use the talents he has given to us. May we as our churches have a holistic approach as we go out into our communities, and may God use us to change the world around us.